Most people say that solve for x is very hard, but in reality, it's not as hard, right? You just have to follow certain rules. As long as you follow the rules, you will actually get to the right answer. Okay, so we'll start by this one, the first equation, which is x squared equals to 5x minus 4. All right, so the first thing that we always do every time, it's either we take everything to the left hand side or else we take everything to the right hand side. So it depends on us that which one actually looks simpler or which side do we always prefer. All right. So in this example, I'm going to be choosing the left hand side. The reason being is that already the x squared has a positive, so it's good to work with the simplest thing actually, which is positives in most cases. So which means that everything has to go to the left. All right. So let's start with taking everything to the left. So we'll start by putting down x squared because x squared won't change. And then we have to actually find a way to move this 5x to the left hand side. So there's a rule in maths that says that when something jumps equals to, right, it has to change the sign, which means that if it's a positive, it's going to become a negative. It's a negative. If it's a negative, it will become a positive. So another thing, if it's a multiplication, it will become a division. If it's a division, it will become a multiplication. So it's vice versa. Okay. All right. So let's remove this because we are not needing that for now. So, so the 5x, because it's a positive term, right? When it moves to the other side, which is the left-hand side, it has to actually become a what? A negative 5x, right? So you're right on that, thinking that it's a negative. So it has to be negative 5x because of the rule that when something jumps a sign, when something jumps equals to, it has to change the sign. So it means that also minus 4, right? When it jumps this equals to, it has to change the sign, right? So it means that now this whole term of minus 4, it has to jump to that other side, and then it's going to change the sign. All right, so let me remove that in the meantime so that we don't cluster everything. All right, so minus 4, when it jumps, it has to be what? Positive 4. You are very, very right on that. And then we'll say equals to because there's nothing else on the right hand side. So we'll be left with what? With 0. Okay. So now we have x squared minus 5x plus 4 equals to 0. All right. So the next thing that we do, because these actually we are solving for x, so we are looking for 1x. We're not looking for x squared, which is 2x's, right? So the other thing that actually we do, the next step that we do is to factorize it. All right. So factorizing it means that we'll have brackets, right? We'll put something in these brackets and then we'll say it's equals to whatever is on the right hand side. And make sure that you take everything from the right hand side or from the left hand side if actually you're going to be working with the right hand side, right? So you must make sure that whenever you factorize, right, the other side is normally mostly 0. So it depends, but yes, but it should always or in most cases be 0. Okay, so we start with this one, right? The x squared. So the x squared, we know that this means that it has two x's have to multiply each other so that they are x squared. So it means that now on this bracket, the first thing that I will write is x, and on this one, the first thing that I'm going to write is x because it says x squared, which means it's two x's. So one on this side and the other on the other side, right? Okay, so we don't look at this one first in the middle, right? The middle term, we don't look at it first, we look at the last term, right? Which is the 4, the positive 4. So we want to see that which numbers actually do we multiply so that they make up 4. Okay, so there are possibilities. So the first possibility is 4 multiplied by 1, which is gonna give me 4, right? The second possibility is 2 multiplied by 2, which is going to give me what? 4. So I have two choices. I have the first one and the second one, where it's 2 and 2, right? So now we look after doing this. Now we have to look in the middle in the middle term to actually see that which pair of numbers do we actually need, which one are we going to be using, right? So here we have a 5, right? So we have to check this side that, okay, all right, in our two options, which one, when we add or minus, it is going to become 5, right? So let's look at the first option. So the first option, if we take 4 and we add 1, it's going to become what? 5, isn't it? So this one, right? If you add them together, it's going to give us 5, isn't it? Okay, so these two, if you add them together, it's going to give us what? 4, right? So it means the best case scenario, right, cannot be 2 multiplied by 2. It can be 4 multiplied by 1, right? Okay, so now that we know that it has to be 4 multiplied by 1, then what we do next is that we put 4 and we put 1. It doesn't matter which one do we start with. We could have put 1 this side and 4 this side. It doesn't really matter. Right. Okay. So now comes the sign, right? Okay. So we have to also look at this side. Okay, that this is minus. It's minus 5, which means that these numbers, they must actually add each other in the negative direction, right? So, which means that, for example, if it is, let me write it here. If it is minus 4 and minus 1, that's going to give me what? Minus 5. So this is what we need, right? Because if we say minus 4 and we say plus 1, this is going to give me what? Minus 3. We're not looking for different for the numbers minusing themselves. We're looking for the numbers adding themselves. So this, let me take it out, right? So this is what we're looking for. Because if we say positive plus positive, that's going to give us 5, but we're not looking at 5. We're looking at minus 5. Right, okay. So now that we know the signs that we must have negative and a negative, which means that here is going to be negative, here is going to be negative. Right. And to also verify that we're going to get 4, when we take minus 4 and multiply by minus 1, that should give us 4. So we are correct, actually, that this factorization is the right way to do things. Okay. So afterwards, there's a rule which says that if actually you have these brackets and everything is equals to 0, you can take whatever is in this bracket, equate it to 0, and whatever is in the other bracket, equate it to zeros, because actually they are multiplying each other. Okay, so let's apply the rule together. So for example, if I take the first bracket, I'm going to say open bracket x minus 4, then close bracket, and I'll say this is equals to what? 0. Or, so this is important, or, always say or, right? Because it's two options. It's either the first one or the second one. So now, or x minus 1 is equals to 0. Okay, brilliant stuff. So let's look at the first equation, the one that has x minus 4. So this one, we can remove the brackets, right? Which now is going to give us just minus 4 is equals to 0. And also on the other side, we can remove the bracket so that we look at it nicely, right? Okay, so remember one thing, we're solving for x. And here on this other side, we do have x, right? This is the x that we're solving. But we want to know that what is x equals to? What is the other number that this x has to be equals to? Because now on this left hand side, we have x minus 4, but we're looking for x only, right? So we come back to the first rule that we did of equals to. We said something that when we have equals to, let me correct that. When we have equals to, if something jumps equals to, it must change the sign. So just because this one is a negative 4, When it jumps this equals 2, it has to become what? You are right, positive 4. So it means that now we're going to have x equals to positive 4, right? And we say or. And then on the other side as well, we have the similar case. We have x minus 1 equals to 0. But we're looking only for x, right? Which means that this minus 1 must go to the other side, right? So we're going to now have to say x is equals to, because this has changed sign, it's going to become positive 1. So when something is positive, we can always say it's 1. If it's a positive 4, we can always say it's 4. So now we do have our answer, which is this one, 4, or which is 1. So we have two answers, right? Which is very, very correct, because in most cases you can always have two numbers that actually are gonna be correct for your equation. So how do we know? So for example, let's say now you want to actually know that, okay, these are the correct numbers, right? That 4 is correct and 1 is correct. What you can normally do, so actually in an exam, right? This is where you end. But you can also confirm it. For example, if maybe you want to know if actually you did the correct thing, or you just want to validate that your answer is correct, you can always just take whatever you have in your answer. For example, x is equals to 1. So you can say that, okay, where on my equation, if I put 1, does this actually balance? So for example, and here we have x squared. So it means that now if I put 1, it's going to be 1 squared equals 2. So you see now it says 5x, which means that now it's going to say 5, and then I replace x by 1. And then this one is minus 4. Then now I try to actually simplify it and see if what's on my right hand side is what is on my left hand side. So 1 squared equals to 1, right? And then 5 multiplied by 1 equals to 5, and minus 4, right? And then when we add these two together, we're going to say 1 is equals to, then 5 minus 4 is equals to what? 1. So 1 is equals to 1, which is very, very correct, right? So that's how you actually test it to know that, okay, all right, is my answer correct or not?